The Democrats who vote for war funding now, what labels can we bestow upon them? Because in addition to all the labels they could levy against the Republicans and Bush and all of that, we also have spinelessness. They check their spines at the door like a mink coat check when they go into the Congress to vote these days, and it's pathetic and it's sad. So who benefits from this system where you have both major political parties in this country voting consistently for war funding? It's the corporations. The corporations benefit in an unprecedented way at this exact moment. Do you know that Barack Obama, since he became president, has increased the number of mercenaries in both Iraq and Afghanistan in all 3 quarters of this year? In Afghanistan in particular, he's increased the number of armed mercenaries. He continues to have Blackwater on his payroll in both Iraq and Afghanistan, where they work for the State Department, the Defense Department, and the Central Intelligence Agency as part of Obama's drone bombing campaigns in Pakistan and Afghanistan, which every time a bomb is dropped from those planes, it is another war crime. From the moment Obama authorized a Predator strike on January 23rd, 3 days after his inauguration, he himself had committed an act of aggression against a country that the United States is not only not at war with, but is doing bombing there against the wishes of large portions of the Pakistani government. So you have Obama now having committed acts of aggression similar to those committed by President Bush. We hear a lot of talk about Acorn these days. Acorn got $53 million over 15 years, $3.5 million a year. Much of it was in the form of grants to go to support low-income housing and housing for truly poor people. $53 million over 15 years. Last year, the top 100 contractors in this country made $257 billion. The 10 of the top 10 defense contractors have been convicted of fraud or abuse in the last several years. All 10 of the top 10 top defense contractors have actual fraud or abuse convictions where they've had to pay fines to the government. Acorn has not been convicted. Acorn is not a government contractor. And so when you have Democrats standing up and voting to defund Acorn, we need to say to them, where's your defund Blackwater Act? Where's your defund Lockheed Martin Act? Where's your defund KBR Act? If we want to talk about defense reform in this country, we need to talk about targeting those corporations without whom these wars would not be possible. 25 to 40 cents on every dollar the United States spends in Iraq and Afghanistan right now, $2.5 billion a week, 25 to 40 cents goes directly to 630 corporations that are servicing the U.S. wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. There are 500,000 U.S. personnel occupying Iraq and Afghanistan. A full 50% of them are now corporate forces working for for-profit corporations that benefit from a worsening of the situation. We saw all of this coming. Those of us who were paying attention, as Phyllis Bettis has for many, many years, we were right about Iraq and its lack of weapons of mass destruction. Anyone in Baghdad at that time could have picked up a phone and called the White House and said it's a complete fraud. Dick Cheney and Scooter Libby went to the CIA repeatedly to try to get different intelligence when the actual intelligence didn't fit their political agenda. So who does Obama pick when he goes for his foreign policy team? He doesn't pick Russ Feingold, the lone senator, to vote against the Patriot Act. He doesn't pick people who actually were right about Iraq. He picks the very people that promoted the myth that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. Hillary Clinton, who voted in 2002 to authorize Bush carte blanche to use force in Iraq and consistently voted for Iraq funding and promoted the myth that Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. Susan Rice, the UN ambassador, promoted the myth that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. Robert Gates was a gun runner during the Afghan war in the Reagan years, and now he is Obama's defense secretary, once again involved with Afghanistan. He was wrong then, and he's wrong now. So we have this team of discredited, many of them outright liars, who promoted myths that led the country into war, still at the epicenter of U.S. foreign policy. If we are going to address any of the systemic problems that stem from this unquenchable thirst for more and more profits for these war corporations, we have to take a multi-pronged approach. One is to go after these war companies ad hoc. Go after them in your community. Protest in front of their gates, as people did at Blackwater. People have been doing at KBR. These are companies that electrocute U.S. soldiers. These are companies that give polluted drinking water to US soldiers. These are companies that murder Iraqis in cold blood in the streets. They're bad for the United States of America, and they're bad for the world. They exist in almost every community in this country. I think we have to have campaigns to target them directly. Regarding those Democrats that do not do their job and stand up to cast votes that are consistent with the principles of the people that elected them, I'm talking about those anti-war Democrats, I agree with Jane Hampshire's strategy. You go after them, you fund their opponent, and you send them back to their state to get a lesson in what it means to actually represent people. The moment, though, that we think that we are going to find any form of change from elected officials that is going to substantially challenge the empire is the moment we actually stop being serious people. I think that we should engage Congresspeople, we should look for allies, we should support those that actually do stand up on these issues and cast brave votes in very dark times. But if we cede our conscience to a politician or a political party that is tied intimately to war corporations, then we are actually making ourselves a major part of the problem. So I think we need citizens' movements that are going to challenge elected officials, occupy their offices as brave activists have done, stand with anti-war veterans, as Jeff was saying, and also take on the corporations. One pro-mercenary guy says that these companies, David Eisenberg says, these companies are like the American Express card of US military operations because they can't leave home without them. It's absolutely true. Representative Alan Grayson of Florida has been very brave these days talking about health care, and this is the last thing I'll say. But he also, when the Defund Acorn Act was passed, only 75 Democrats voted against the Defund Acorn Act. None of them are voting to defund any of these war corporations. And Alan Grayson said, you know, the Republicans are so stupid because the drafters of this bill made it so broad that they actually have created the legal framework, if it is found constitutional, to argue that that all of the top war contractors that have been convicted of fraud should immediately be prohibited from receiving federal funds. To me, what Grayson was doing there and what he has been raising here is one of our best issues on the war right now. Let's take that Defund Acorn Act and replicate it over and over. Introduce multiple acts that are the Defund Lockheed Martin Act, the Defund KBR Act, the Defund Blackwater Act. There are people in the Congress now that are looking into this. So I think we have to engage Congress, confront Congress, but not look to them as the solution. Look to hold them accountable, but don't look to them as the solution. Go back to the activism of occupation, not occupation of countries, occupation of offices, occupation of buildings, and target those corporations. Thank you. Yeah.